Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. The new screensavers is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TWiT. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to Audible.com/NSS. And by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. For a free 7-day trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/TWiT.
Taking apart the new MacBook Pros, revved up for the LA Auto Show, and I review a computer kit. Live from the TWiT Eastside Studios in beautiful Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers.
Nice job. That's young Zak Bondy. We'll see more of him in just a little bit. And that there is the old Father Robert Balaser.
I'm back from Rome. My goodness, that was almost 2 months away. That was
Holy cow.
A nice chunk of time.
2 months?
2 months.
This was for the convocation of Jesuits.
Yes.
How often is that?
Oh, you know, we kind of do it like between every 10 and 50 years or so.
So this might be, is this the only one in your lifetime?
Could be.
Could be?
Yes.
Wow. Did you have fun? I saw a great picture of you and the Pope.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Wow.
I got a great respect for all of ours who work in Rome, who can work in that system, and I also realized that that is absolutely not the life for me.
Sometimes it's good to work far away from the
yes.
centralized government.
Yes.
Because you get more freedom.
Yeah.
We are going to have some fun. I'm so glad to have you with us, Father Robert, today. We've got a review of the new MacBook Pros. Ooh. We got the 13 and the 15. And after we review it, Kyle Wiens is here from iFixit to tear it down.
Well, that's about right. We see the new stuff, and then we see what's inside of it.
We made a stack of all of the MacBooks in here, and we're going to find somewhere in there the new MacBook Pro, buried deep within that stack, including, by the way, the heaviest part is this original, the very first Macintosh portable right there. Isn't that cool?
That also does not come with USB ports.
But all of them have one thing in common, a headphone jack. Much like my iPhone.
Too soon.
Too soon. Yeah. You were down in L.A. in between your visit to Rome and here at the LA Auto Show. We got a report, right?
Yeah, it's sort of a warm-up for the big show that happens in Detroit right after CES. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the big news, of course, was the autonomous vehicles. They are making a splash. All the manufacturers are rushing to get into the space. And we came back with a little bit of insight.
You know, it's so funny because maybe a year or two ago it was electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. Are most of these autonomous vehicles electric also, or are we abandoning that so we can do autonomous?
No, you've got parallel tracks. I think what's the way it's working out is autonomous is just now going to be built in. You're going to have the hardware and the tools in there.
Good.
And whether or not it's ICE or electric, that's up to you.
You saw little Zak, he's not so little, Zak Bondy. He's going to show us a kit for kids. This might be we're going to start reviewing stuff that you might want to get for the holidays, for Hanukkah, or for Christmas. And so this is a little computer kit. It's got a Raspberry Pi. It's actually really cute. It's called the Piper computer kit. He built it. He'll show us what he did with it. Jason Howell has a review of a brand new app from Google for iOS and Android, and we've got call for help questions and so forth. I think our hot topic is going to be a review of these new MacBooks, but before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about, been talking about all the shows on TWiT, on Twig. We'll probably talk some more about it tomorrow on TWiT. We've got a great panel coming up on TWiT tomorrow about fake news, and of course, fake news on Facebook. Some people are blaming it for the election. I'm not one of those people. I don't believe that it's problem unique to there is a fake news problem, but it's not unique to Facebook. In fact, I would say anything that's link bait can often be fake news.
Yes.
Facebook had a problem earlier with link bait from sites like Upworthy. Remember, like, you know, Mama Chihuahua gives birth to 12 kittens and you won't believe what happened next, and that kind of stuff.
We've seen this forever. I mean,
This
is the supermarket tabloid. This is the thing that grabs your
News of the
attention.
world, yeah.
Exactly. So it's not like this is a new phenomenon that was only allowed when social media came into being. This is something that we've always dealt with, and that is people know that what sells is sex, disaster, and scandal. So if you can give them that, they'll buy it.
And whether it's true is almost secondary to the story. You kind of, these stories appeal and resonate because you kind of want them to be true as much as that they are true. Here's a really good example. This was a story that was in all of the tech publications this week. Started with Glenn Greenwald's Intercept. Came out of Russia, a Russian security company called Elcomsoft. And the Intercept says, like very kind of link-baity headline, shocking. Apple is uploading your call history to iCloud sneakily. I think they used the word sneaky. And the first thing that's hit me is, well, wait a minute. Secretly, there's the word. iPhones secretly send call history to Apple, according to a security firm. Well, first of all, if you have an iPhone and you ever got a new iPhone, you might have suspected this because the new iPhone, when you restored from iCloud, knew your call history, knew your contacts, knew your web history, knew your passwords, knew your Wi-Fi passwords.
But Leo, I thought that just all magically transferred from one iPhone to the next, right?
Where did it come from? The cloud, because you were backing up to iCloud. Now, if you turn off backup to iCloud, it won't do this. This is kind of intended. And by the way, Android does the same exact thing. If you back up to Google and you install a new Google phone without connecting to the old phone, it'll copy all your settings over from the cloud. So this was a story that got a lot of play. And if people even thought about it for a minute, they would have realized, oh yeah, I guess it has. It's always been doing it.
This is not so much fake news as it is FUD. This is FUD news. This is, let's take something that is true, has a kernel of truth, and let us make it so exceptional, so gargantuan, so conspiratorial that people are going to have to click it because they want to know what the government, what whoever is doing to them.
Right.
And
well, again, it's because we want to believe it, right? And if it comes from the Intercept, which is, of course, where Snowden's material is often published, the first thing is, oh, Apple's secretly in cahoots with the man. Now, what they should say, and what would be a reasonable article, is a reminder that Apple has the keys to your iCloud. That's kind of important because it means anything you store on iCloud, including all your backups, call histories, and everything, can be subpoenaed by law enforcement. Apple gladly turns it over and could be hacked by somebody that gets into their iCloud system or by a renegade Apple employee. They have the keys. So that's true of Dropbox. It's true of a lot of services. And the way to tell is if you lose your password and you can contact the service and get into your stuff, get a new password, that's because they know the old password.
There is a real news story that is semi-sensational that can come out of this semi-fake news story, and that is, obviously, most people don't know what's being uploaded. They have no idea, and so when a story like this comes out, yeah, that's actually important.
Did you know this is what's being backed up? Did you know Apple has access to this? Did you know it's subpoenable by law enforcement? All of that would be useful. Not the sensationalist headline, Apple secretly backs up call history. Yeah, it's always done that. Anyway, I don't want to get on a high horse about it, but that's an example of, sometimes you think, oh, fake news has to be, the alien baby. No. It doesn't have to be. It can sometimes be stuff that seems like normal news that really is hyped up or sensationalized. That's why I like the term link bait.
Yes.
Because all of it comes down to the basic economic reality of if you click this link and go to this site, they're going to make some money on advertising.
And it's our fault. Why do people still link bait? Because it works.
It works.
Stop making it work.
You know who started this? Local news. Film at 11. Alien baby abduction. Film at 11.
You won't believe what Leo Laporte says next.
Unbelievable. All right, this is the new MacBook Pro. Ooh. It's here. We've been waiting for it. Apple released or announced this in October, and they just started shipping this week. We actually were able to go to the store and pick one up on, what was that? Was that Tuesday. Okay, so November 15th, we were able to go to the store, and we got two so you could take a look at them. This is the new one. Now, they've had the new one without the touch bar for a while. And by the way, I pulled out a MacBook. This is a current model MacBook. This is their 13-inch laptop to give you a comparison. This is the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So it's a little thicker, but not much. It's a little bit heavier, but not much. It has a lot more ports. Remember, this only had one Type-C port. The MacBook Pros have 4, along with the headphone jack. This is the 13, just to give you a sense of size. And by the way, to compare this to the MacBook Air will give you some sort of sense. The Air has been the lightest, thinnest MacBook still available. This is pretty close.
Right. That's the skewing of the lines.
This is pretty close.
This doesn't really have a place anymore.
And the MacBook Pro has a Retina display. The MacBook Air did not.
Right.
13-inch. I think that this is probably a better choice. So we got one 13 and we got one 15. This is mine. I'll show you the demo. We just brought along an old 15 to give you a sense of how much thinner and lighter this is. About ½ pound lighter.
This is a 2015, right?
This is 2015, yeah. So this is last year's MacBook Pro on the bottom, the new MacBook Pro on the top. What you do miss is all of those great connectors.
Yeah.
You're going to be in dongle heaven.
Okay, so Leo, is that actually a thing? I don't use a MacBook, and yes, I understand that some people like to make fun of the fact that I have a string of dongles, but is that really a thing?
Well, I would say almost everybody has connectors that they carry around. There's no Ethernet port, so you're going to be carrying around an Ethernet connector. I actually have, my laptop bag has a bunch of dongles in it. But it would have probably earlier too, right? I've got a card reader. Now that's one thing you have to get because the SD card slot is gone. And this is now, because it's Type-C, I have to get a special Type-C cable on it. But it's faster, right? It's USB 3 compared to USB 2. And by the way, if you're importing large photos, that makes a very big difference in speed. I also have this, which was released, Apple released this kind of multi-dongle. This was $80. They've reduced the price on this for the MacBook.
Wait, is that 80 before or after the price drop?
Before.
Okay.
So it's Type-C. This was for the MacBook. It does work with the MacBook Pro with a firmware update, oddly enough. First time I plugged it in, it said, okay, we got to update the firmware. It comes with an additional Type-C, so you can use that to charge or to connect additional devices, HDMI and USB. By the way, my card reader also is a USB hub, so that's kind of nice. Once you've got enough USB ports, notice those are USB 3 too, so it's a little bit faster. I have an Ethernet port, but this is the traditional Ethernet dongle, Apple Ethernet dongle, with a traditional Type A USB connector. But note, and you'll probably be buying a few of these.
Yeah.
This is a Type A to Type C. You had a kind of cool one that was the
this
adapter.
Little thing. So this is a Kingston drive. It's a 64 gigabyte flash drive, but on one side it's got USB-C, and on the other side it's USB 3. It'll work on either. So this could be the bridge between your old device and your new device.
So it could be an adapter, right? I could connect, for instance, the Ethernet port to the
Oh, no. So this is just purely memory. It's purely memory. So this won't adapt anything, but it does allow you to use a single flash drive.
Why
on
is this an
devices.
innie, not an outie?
Right, well, so I can plug it into a port.
What port? Oh, this is
USB 3.
Oh, it's an innie. It is an outie. I'm sorry, it's not an innie. It's an outie. I thought it was an innie.
No.
Never mind. All right. And then I have cables and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about the new laptop. And then Kyle Wiens is going to join us from iFixit because they've done a teardown
I want to see
these
this.
new laptops. So there are a few things we wanted to pay attention to on the new Apple MacBook Pro. One is really great. It finally has fingerprint recognition, right? I mean, PCs have had this for years, although it's not one of those swipe ones. It's just like the fingerprint reader on an iPhone. You just touch it. And in fact, it's made the same way. In fact, really, and I'll ask Kyle, but this touch bar is essentially a mini iPhone. It's got the secure store from the iPhone, the Touch ID from the iPhone. So now the touch bar is lit up, and it's programmable. This is the default. By the way, the escape key's still there. You might say, well, wait a minute, it's indented a little bit, but it still works if I touch this end. You can't see because my big fat hand, but if I touch this end, it still lights up the escape key. So its touch sensor sends somewhat into the side there. We still get all the function keys. If I expand this, I'll see all the function keys. Furthermore, these are editable, so I can put other keys there. And software also takes advantage of this. I'll launch the new Pixelmator.
Right, this is one of the big selling points, which is it's aware of what applications are running. So, for example, if you're running Premiere, it'll give you all your shortcuts.
If Premiere
or Final Cut
does that,
or
so all the Mac software is doing it now already. Let me open a new document in Pixelmator. But Pixelmator is the first third-party app that seems like it supports it. So notice it's put up this OK. It's a very easy to read screen. I have a variety of. This is the palette that would be. And it's kind of cool. I mean, it's an OLED display, so the color is good. I love the color picker. If I launch Apple's Photos, I can scroll through photos. I even get mini thumbnails of the photos. This is a high-res screen with beautiful color. The real issue I have with this is I don't know about you, but in about 9th grade, Mrs. Clonky, did you have her taught me something called touch typing, right?
Yeah.
The idea that you don't look at the keys when you type, you look at the screen as you type. All of a sudden, everything you've learned in touch typing is gone because now you have to look down at this touch bar, and there's no way you can know what's there because it changes. So it's context sensitive. So we're suddenly looking at the keyboard again. I think that's a strike against it. That's not what touch typing is all about. And to me, this is Apple's response to a touch screen. It says, well, we don't want you touching the screen, but now we'll give you a little bit of touch, a little bit of sensitivity here. I haven't had this long enough to know whether it's truly useful. I think the objection is clear that you have to look at it. And you have to look down, and you have to look down a lot. And if you've been trained not to look down, that's going to be kind of painful. I find what I'm doing is ignoring it.
See, I have had a couple of laptops that have had OLED screens, either next to the mouse pad or up at the top, that are user assignable or program sensitive. And they're cool, they're fun to use in the review, they're flashy, and I almost always end up not using them.
So this touch bar will be most useful for somebody who lives in a specific program. If you edit in Final Cut Pro day in, day out, you'll know what those keys are, and you won't have to look at it, and it might be truly useful. And I think that's the same thing for those little side OLED things. They're for gamers. So if you play a game, you can assign those keys. Those are the keys you hit all the time. You don't have to look at it, right? So there you go. I think the jury's still out on the touch bar. I think it's going to be of limited utility. Most useful people use the same programs day in and day out and get to know what the touch bar can do. The other question mark I had was on the keyboard. Now, do you have that MacBook?
Jammer B's got them.
The old MacBook. So the old MacBook keyboard, because the MacBook was so thin, the keyboard didn't have much travel. They had to do a thin keyboard. This is essentially, at least looks-wise, and I'll have to ask Kyle if it is the same part, the same keyboard on the MacBook Pro. Even though you have more depth, you have more room, they've decided to do the short travel, the larger keycaps of the MacBook on the MacBook Pro. But they did something different, and I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up. Let me hold the MacBook up to my microphone and tap a key.
Yeah,
you can hear that, right?
There's a level of click.
The thing I don't like about the MacBook is I feel like it's ending prematurely.
Right,
like I'm stubbing my fingers because the key stops prematurely. It's like when you have a step at a staircase that's 1 inch too short, you feel like it just stopped. And after a year of using a MacBook, I never got used to it. I've never been accurate on the MacBook keyboard. So let me type the same key on the MacBook Pro. It looks like the same keyboard, but listen to the keystroke.
It feels
clickier,
deeper,
right?
It's clickier.
I don't think it's any deeper. I don't even know if that's a real click or a taptic. It could very well be. There's a taptic click that's on the trackpad that feels like a real click. It could very well be taptic. Kyle will tell us that.
It's all the feel. It's the satisfaction of the keystroke.
It's psychological, but I don't feel like I'm stubbing my fingers on this. It's still not as good as a full travel keyboard, but I think it's going to be usable. It's certainly better, in my opinion, than the MacBook keyboard, and that's a great relief. What is much better is the screen. This is a P3 screen. The color gamut is full color. It is fantastic. It's the best screen I've ever used on a notebook. Easily on a par with Microsoft Surface Books, which are really great screens rather. This is a beautiful screen. Highly recommend it. If you're a photographer, an artist, you're going to really appreciate this P3 screen. It really is beautiful.
Is it properly color calibrated? So if I was taking
it's
photos,
accurate.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's
it's accurate.
Yes.
And that's one thing Apple's really been very good at. Look at the size of this. I wish I had my iPhone here. This is actually bigger than an iPhone 7. This trackpad. This thing is massive. Now, it's bigger than your hand, Father Robert.
Hand.
Here's an iPhone 7. It's literally bigger than an iPhone 7. Look at that, by a lot. So Joanna Stearns in the Wall Street Journal said that she was getting some stray clicks from the trackpad when she typed. I did not have that experience. My experience is that Apple's very good at what they call palm rejection.
Right.
When you're typing, it ignores the input.
Yeah, that's just a setting. You can change that.
And I feel like they've got that part down. So as big as that, I don't know why it's that big. I don't know if it needs to be that big. It seems like an awful lot of space. But if some of you will go, oh, finally. I have a giant trackpad. It's still the great glass trackpad that Apple's made famous. So I think they've done a good job there. So those are the big changes. Of course, it's a faster computer. And the other complaint a lot of pros were giving us is it's not the latest Intel chipset. It's not Kaby Lake. It's a Skylake processor. It isn't the state-of-the-art graphics processors you might be able to get in some Windows 10 laptops. We got the top of the line here. and that's an NVIDIA graphics card in here. The it doesn't say here. Let me look on it.
You're probably, it hasn't switched over, so it does that thing where it chooses
switches
what it
automatically,
needs.
and we didn't know much about this new NVIDIA Polaris technology. What I've read in reviews and seen in benchmarks, it's not as fast as some of the other NVIDIA stuff. It's an AMD Polaris, some of the NVIDIA stuff. So maybe a little disappointing. The biggest disappointment is, and Kyle will talk more about this, zero upgradability. You get the RAM you bought, and it's soldered onto the motherboard. So, and the most you can get is 16 gigs. Which for some professionals will just be considered woefully inadequate.
But I mean, if you buy a Mac, you've been used to that for years. I mean,
I was able to upgrade my RAM in older MacBooks.
The older ones. But I mean, in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, soldering it on the motherboards, and this is Apple's obsession with thin and light, and this is how it plays out. And I know a lot of professionals that say, "Give me thicker and heavier, and more battery life, and more configurability. I'd be happier with this." I am not unhappy with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. I think that's fantastic. You could charge on any side. You do get an 87-watt adapter with the 15-inch MacBook Pro and a Type-C connector, and that's the one it's going to ask for. But I've noticed I can use almost any Type-C charger, even including phone chargers. The MacBook Pro will say, "I'm not charging. That charger's not high wattage enough." But I notice it does trickle charge.
It does trickle, yes.
So over time, if you close it and you leave it overnight, it might fully charge. It certainly will get some charge. So that's great. To me, the fact that I have Type-C now everywhere because of the MacBook and my phones, and I feel like being able to use any Type-C power adapter and getting some charge or not depleting is great. So all in all, it is a evolutionary upgrade for the MacBook Pro. If you, like me, have been sitting on a 4-year-old MacBook Pro waiting to upgrade, I think it's probably worthwhile. If you're a pro that needs more RAM or a faster processor or a better GPU, it might be time to move to Windows 10, I have to admit. But for the vast majority of MacBook users, I think this is a very good upgrade. And I'm actually pretty happy with it. My biggest fear was typing, because I do need a good keyboard. And I'm happy to say the keyboard is good enough for me to use on a regular basis. So the new MacBook Pros, the jury's still out on the Touch Bar, but in every other respect, it's a reasonable evolutionary upgrade to a line that has been incredibly successful for Apple and probably will remain so. Not quite the super pro machine some of us had hoped for, but I'll be happy with this. And this is Lisa's 13. She's very happy. She likes it. She can tell the speed difference right away. And half a pound lighter, but more expensive. That's the other side of it. One
of my TWiT co-hosts, Lou Maresca, who works for Microsoft, he just got his brand new 15, and he says he loves it. He says, okay, it's not the spec machine that I would want, but it's a solid machine. It's incredibly well built, which you would expect from Apple. It does everything he wants, and it does give a nice performance boost. So, I mean, if you are in the Mac world, there's nothing wrong with this. The one thing that comes up for me is I don't know if I would spend the premium to get the little Touch Bar.
You might look at the one without the Touch Bar.
Yeah.
That might be enough for you. Absolutely. The Touch Bar isn't a huge improvement, frankly.
Right.
I kind of agree with Lou, and I think also there's a certain psychology to specs where you think I've got to have the latest spec, but you might not notice it. Jonathan Zdarsky, who is one of the great Apple security researchers, loaded up one of the first MacBook Pro with a lot of stuff and said and looked at them RAM usage and said, I don't run out of RAM. Remember, macOS is tuned for RAM efficiency. He said it is not the problem people are making it out to be.
No.
So, I've been pretty happy with this. Battery life is about the same as the old MacBook Pro. Depends very much on usage. Yeah, I've been getting roughly 10 hours, which is pretty good. I'm very happy with it. So, a quick look. We'll have more, of course, over time as I use this. And my big long-term question is how useful the Touch Bar is. My sense is it's not going to be that. It's going to be like your experience was.
Yep.
I probably won't end up using it.
It's flash, and it's fun to show off, but in practical use, probably not so much.
Now, with the first MacBook Pro, the one without the Touch Bar, iFixit found something very strange, and I'm very curious what Kyle Wiens has found. He's on the line with us right now from iFixit.com, one of our great sponsors, and the kings of teardown. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Leo.
You have torn down which, the 15 or the 13?
I've got all three here actually. So we did the 13 with function keys, and then we did the 13 with the Touch Bar, and then we got the 15. So we got all of them. Let me
ask you, because I was kind of shocked when I read your teardown of the first 13, that these speaker grills on the left and right aren't actually speaker grills.
Yes. Yeah, so I've got that. I've got that here. This is pretty cool. All right, so
what are they?
This is the 13.
Yeah.
And this is where the speaker is, and you can see on this side there's no holes all the way through. Where over here, this is where the little tweeter goes. So the only holes, there's only a few holes on it, and this is a tweeter speaker, and it sits in right here, and there's like 25 holes just from here to here that allow the tweeter out, and the rest of it, they're all cosmetic.
It's cosmetic. Now, is that true on the Touch Bar 13 as well?
Yeah, it's the.
But Leo, they lighten the case.
I'm sorry. On the Touch Bar, the speakers are up on top. So,
okay,
so
that's what I thought, because I took Lisa's.
This is the Touch Bar one. Okay, so this is the Touch Bar one. It's got the tweeters, and the speakers are down below. So on the Touch Bar models, it's cosmetic. On the function key models, they're not cosmetic. They go all the way through, like on the previous.
It's the other way around. So I misunderstood. So this model with the Touch Bar, these speaker grills are just holes in the case. They don't actually connect to sound.
Right.
The sound comes out on these vents on the bottom. Is that right?
That's it. And yeah, you'd think that the vents on the bottom were for airflow. They may primarily be there now for acoustics. and the speakers are interesting. I mean, this is the speaker unit.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is just a plastic block of air. So all of the modeling is in the geometry, not necessarily in the physical manufacturing of it.
That is very
and yeah, they've got a tweeter on either side, which is kind of cool, and the audio sounds really good, but it's just not done how you'd expect.
So wait, does that mean that when you're in bed with your laptop on the bed sheets, it's going to block the sound?
You know, I haven't done extensive in-bed modeling with it. Like, we took this laptop apart.
That should be a natural part of testing.
Yeah, let's get in bed with the MacBook Pro. All right, well, I'm going to, because I have to say, I think the sound is pretty good. Let me play some. This is on the 15. Now, is the 15 the same configuration, or are these actually speakers here?
Yes, no, the 15 is exactly the same. So I've got the board for the 15, and I've got the 15 here.
Making me cry. What'd they put these holes here for? Is it ventilation?
It's funny, you know, Johnny has always done stuff like that. Do you remember on the white MacBooks?
Yeah.
The white MacBooks had some screws that were extraneous, that were just there for symmetry.
They didn't actually hold anything?
Right.
I was thinking how good the sound was, but you're telling me it's coming out of the vent.
It's coming out of the bottom. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So we were joking that the holes might be just there for lightweighting.
Yeah, well, it doesn't remove enough aluminum for it to probably make any difference. Wow, I am bummed. I am really bummed. Let me just. Okay.
Well, I mean, look. If they hadn't put those there, people would say, "Well, what happened to the speaker grill? Well, they got rid of the speaker grill," and they would freak out. So this is just Apple easing people into the next generation of MacBooks.
And I have to say, the sound is good coming out of here. I mean, let me play something with some heavy bass. Don't laugh. All right, let me turn it up. And by the way you turn it up, of course, is you press this button, and then it opens up the slider. So it's 2 button presses now.
There we go.
It's too complicated.
It's too complicated. But I think the sound's good. It's not coming out of there.
Cover up the vents.
It's Macker size. All right.
You know, I didn't get the Hawaiian shirt.
You're right. It's coming out of here. Because I can cover it up. Oh yeah. All right. What else do we? So Johnny does that. It's cosmetic. It makes it look pretty.
It look pretty, and I mean that's a lot. I mean all the way through. I mean nobody else's boards look like this. The dark blue color that they use on the boards. I mean that's distinctive.
Isn't that
to
interesting?
Apple,
Even though nobody but the tech is ever going to see that.
There's a lot of techs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the back of the cabinet.
Now, one thing that we've heard is that everything is soldered down. There's nothing, you can't upgrade anything, right?
Yeah, and on the model with function keys, you actually can. So the SSD is modular on the unit with function keys.
So if you want to upgrade the SSD,
okay, now there's a reason to get the one with the track bar, or the touch bar.
Go ahead, Kyle. What about upgradability?
It's not just about upgradability. Actually, last week I use a 2012 MacBook Pro,
right?
And it finally the GPU failed after I've been using it nonstop, 16 hours a day for 4 years. So I was able to take the drive out of that machine, throw it in another machine, and I was good to go. I didn't have any downtime. I didn't have any data loss. But if you had this unit and you've got the integrated. We've got the integrated SSD, right? You're toast. If a piece fails, or if you trip over the power plug and break the USB port and the computer doesn't turn on anymore, there's no way to recover your data off of this.
And that's what
Where
Apple's
if it was
done.
a
Even
modular-
in the 2012 MacBook Pro, they replace large segments. They don't do little piece-by-piece fixes. But you
the
at least,
hard drive was modular.
yeah, and with the help of iFixit and the manuals and the parts you can get there, you at least could do it yourself. Not with this one, not with the new one, unless you're very good at removing surface mount parts.
Oof.
Right.
You're pretty much
No,
Yeah, I
even
think
if you're
anybody would
good
be able
with
to
that.
take this apart and replace the whole board, but that board's going to be so expensive that you're going to have a hard time getting your hands on one.
right. Right.
Yeah, well, because that board is everything. It's the SSD, it's the processor.
Is that the
it's
logic
memory.
board there? That harness?
Yes, this is the main board, and this has the USB ports on the side of it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And that's something I'm really kind of concerned about is where we're going to go. If you're talking, you've got these integrated USB-C ports that don't have MagSafe anymore. We break them, and you've got a problem.
Yeah. What else have we learned by tearing these down? By the way, when you tear something like this down, can you put it back together again?
Yes, we can, and we everything on here is functional. We didn't have a very good time pulling the batteries out, but we got them out, and you'll note the batteries are these five separate cells.
Are they all glued in?
So yeah, they're all glued in. This is the glue here. It's just a tremendous amount of adhesive all along it. If we give something a 1 out of 10 on the repairability chart, that means we spent hours and hours very carefully prying and heating, and it's not a fun process for us.
Yeah, and prying
not
and heating a
vindictive.
lithium-ion cell is not the
It's all
safest.
scary.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that.
Right.
So you gave this a 1 out of 10. Is that as low as you can go on repairability?
You could go to 0, I guess. Like the iPod Shuffle is probably a 0.
What would a product need to be 0? Like it's made out of thermite?
Yeah, the Apple Pencil is pretty close to that, and the Magic Touchpads where there's no way to replace the battery at all. But yeah, I mean we're pretty much there. This is really
1 out
rough.
of 10.
Oh, well, I can remove the trackpad, so yeah.
You can.
There you go.
And, the trackpad is super easy to replace. You've got this big piece. You can see how big it is relative to my hand. It's massive. And here's the opposite side of it. And we've got the Taptic engine. So these copper coils are what vibrate it when you click. It doesn't physically move at all when you push it. It's just the Taptic vibration making you feel like it clicked. And this is a massive coil. And this whole thing is easy. Now, I've never actually broken just the trackpad on a laptop, but if you did break it, this would be easy to swap
I'm
out.
sure it happens. Did you look at the keyboard and compare it to the MacBook keyboard? Could you tell if it was?
Yes, we did. And it's definitely a different mechanism.
Okay.
And one thing I can share, because I was hearing you talk earlier, and I think that part of what you're reacting to is the additional noise.
Yes.
So you're saying it feels like it doesn't
That's
cut
right.
off as early. I think they intentionally made it a lot louder.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't have more travel, the
Right.
noise and that impact makes it feel to you.
I feel like it's psychological.
And that's fine. I mean,
Is it a physical noise or is it created by the haptic engine?
No, it's so this unit is off, right? And I've got the microphone kind of cranked up, so you should be able to hear it.
Yeah, it's still tappity tap. So are they using different switches? What are they doing now?
Yeah, so it's a new switch, and I'm actually kind of concerned. I don't know if I'd want somebody working next to me using this laptop.
Yeah, it's loud.
Really loud.
Yeah, it's very loud.
I'm not computing to make friends, though. So
But
I mean,
psychologically,
I've got my 2012 here, and I'm typing, and you can't hear anything.
yeah, but that doesn't have that full support spring that doesn't. On the older laptop, the keys wobble a little bit, which I like, and feels like it's traveling more.
Right. No, and they are traveling. They're traveling 4 times as far.
So there you go.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know why, but the click makes me feel like I'm less like stubbing
I
my
think you had it
fingers
right.
on
There's a
this thing.
psychology here.
Psychology.
It's the satisfaction of the key press.
Yeah, still the butterfly keys, but there's kind of a newer switch on those.
I wonder if this isn't Tim Cook. I almost think Tim Cook is more bullish on the iPad than Johnny is. And I think he's convinced we're all going to be on glass at some point. And so the design team are kind of following what he's saying. But I don't think any of the rest of us like typing on iPads.
Right. No, I think you're exactly right. In fact, I'd be willing to bet, and we've talked about this before, Horace Dediu wrote a very good piece on Asimco saying the reason Apple doesn't have a touchscreen and never will have a touchscreen is that they feel like the future is on iOS and their touch devices, and they just keep the Mac along because there's still stuff you can't do on iOS that you could do on a MacBook. But as soon as that difference is gone, as soon as you can do everything you want to do on an iPad, they're just going to get rid of these entirely. They don't see this as the future of the company. This is a legacy product. They're more than happy to cut loose. What other things did you notice in the MacBook Pro that you thought were worth paying attention to?
Yeah, the fan is kind of fun. Apple clearly has an entire team just designing fans, and you can't see it here, but if you dive in or you look at it, like all of these blades are individually spaced. It's not symmetrical or in any kind of pattern. You know, I'd kill to be able to see the mathematical model behind that fan. There's a lot of engineering into it.
Well, I'm sure
lots of folks out there.
Yeah, it's not a circle. It's kind of a snail-shaped. I'm sure there is lots of thinking behind that. And they mentioned these fans earlier in a previous version of the Mac.
They're real proud of their thermal engineering. This is the heat sinks. You've got 2 heat sinks and a heat pipe, and then you've got these heating grills.
I have to say, I haven't been able to get this 15-inch hot. Maybe I'm not working hard enough, but even playing games, it stays pretty cool. So, and the fans are fairly quiet, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, but what I'd say the most surprising thing that we found is that the function key laptop and the touch bar laptops are completely different machines. It's like they were 2 years designed apart.
Wow.
The one with the function keys has a modular SSD. It's different internally. The whole layout of it is different. The keyboard or the speaker position is different. It's got a bigger battery. It's got the smaller CPU, so the more energy efficient CPU, and then the other ones. But we were really surprised. It's like they had 2 completely different design teams working on the machines that weren't talking to each other.
That's interesting. So if you don't believe that the touchpad is worth the extra money, it'd probably be a smart thing to get the function key MacBook Pro.
Yeah, I'd be looking at how can I max out that function key machine with the top specs.
By the way, let's talk about that touch bar, because you guys said not only is it kind of a standalone computing unit on its own with its own CPU, they're different in the 13 and the 15. They're completely different.
They are different, yeah. And so in the process of trying to learn about them, we tried really hard to pull it off and see if I can get this thing open. So this is the 13 with touch bar here.
Okay.
And so you've got the touch bar. And I don't think you can see, but we start prying on either side and we heat it up and we use, various solvents and we're trying to pry it up. And we got the digitizer, so we got the touch glass off the top, but then this is the OLED. And we weren't able to get the OLED off without cracking it.
Oh.
And so then we regrouped and we came up with a whole bunch of new techniques that we thought would be clever and creative. And then we tried it again on the 15 and we broke the 15 too.
So the OLED is really integral into that unit. Yeah. It's all
right, which means that like if you break the keyboard, if you break a keycap off the keyboard, you're going to be replacing the touch bar as well.
Oh boy.
Which might mean you're replacing the entire laptop. There are so many little things that you can do to this computer that will cause you to lose $2,000. It's ridiculous.
Is there a repairability score below 0? Because I think that kind of merits.
Well, you should. It's clear you would be very smart to get AppleCare Plus if you buy this.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Right?
I'm normally not a fan of that, but in this case, I can't really argue with that.
I'm with you. I feel like I prefer to self-insure. We don't ever buy AppleCare, but since you can't fix anything. You're really dependent on Apple.
There are so many things that will break the entire device. That's kind of new. Okay.
Wow.
The other thing I'd mention, we're kind of used to these things not being upgradable, and we say, well, that's a trade-off, but you can decide what you want to buy. Right. But electronics recyclers don't get to pick what they deal with, and this laptop is in the category of something that's not recyclable. The way that they glued the batteries down and the amount of adhesive that's used means that this is completely unsafe to recycle. Every electronics recycler I know has fires on a regular basis from product designs like this, and they hate it, and it's hurting people.
Because the lithium ion ends up getting punctured when they're trying to remove it?
Right. They have to manually remove the battery before they can run the whole unit through the shredder. And if they miss a battery, if they don't realize that the battery was in there, it goes into the shredder, and the shredder explodes.
Wow.
So they're sitting there, and they're manually prying these things. and it takes too long to pry them out safely relative to the economic value of the metal in the laptop.
But if I send it back to Apple for recycling, do they do it properly? Do we know?
No, I know who they send it to, and they don't do it well either.
India.
That's terrible. That's very disappointing.
This is not an environmentally acceptable design, and the concern is, it's not just Apple; it's everybody else follows along in their footsteps.
Yeah. Kyle Wiens is at iFixit.com. They are the repair manual for the world. You can find how to fix almost anything there, including McDonald's Happy Meals toys. Of course, all the electronics in your house, and they sell parts and tools, and we're big fans.
But we don't have a repair manual for a Slinky yet. So if you know how to fix a Slinky, help us out. No one's ever figured it out.
What do you mean fix it? How would it break?
Well, if you get the Slinky all tangled up, how do you untangle
Slinky.
it?
The worst thing in the world. You need to make a Slinky untangling machine that just kind of...
That's something.
Kyle.
Maybe Apple's fan engineers can help us out.
Yeah, they know how. Kyle Wiens, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. iFixit is a sponsor of some of our shows, and we do appreciate that, but we love having you on because those teardowns, we learn so much, and nobody else, there it is. What do? It's unfixable.
Your host.
we learn so much every time you take it apart. I think this is a huge service you do to the tech community. Repairability, 1 out of 10. Recyclability, very low. The new MacBook Pros. Thank you, Kyle. iFixit.com if you want to see all the details of the teardown. Thanks, Kyle.
Liam.
Take care. Good to see you. The LA Auto Show earlier this week. It's a big focus on autonomous vehicles. Self-driving Slinkies. Father Robert was there. We're going to talk about it. But first, a word from our sponsor, ZipRecruiter. If you're in the enviable, unenviable business of hiring in your company, you need to know about ZipRecruiter. Of course, hiring's always a challenge. If you're a small company, it could be a huge challenge because you have to hire somebody at exactly the time when you need people the most, right? So you don't have the time to hire somebody. ZipRecruiter takes all of the pain out of hiring, and it helps you find the right person. And that's really important. The persons that you put in your company, that's what companies are made of people. They're made of people. And the right person can make your company sing. The wrong person can make it sink. That's why you want to use ZipRecruiter, because it's going to give you access to the largest number of prospective employees possible. One post on ZipRecruiter goes to 100 plus job boards and social networks like Facebook and Twitter with one click of the mouse. And here's the beauty part. You're going to say, whoa, I don't know. I don't want all those email applications. I don't want those crazy resumes. I don't want all those phone calls. No. Every single applicant goes into the ZipRecruiter interface. All the resumes are formatted identically, so it's easy to look at them. The interface makes it very easy to screen out people who aren't right and to hone in on a person who's right, including multiple choice questions, free form questions, yes, no format. You can give them a questionnaire, you can give them a test. It is the easiest way to narrow it down and find the right person fast. In any city, in any industry, nationwide, over 1 million businesses have used ZipRecruiter. You should too. In fact, you can do it right now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. It's what we use. I highly recommend it. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of the new screensavers. So you haven't had enough travel?
No, I figured that I sleep at least 3 or 4 nights in my bed, so I should be on the road more.
So you went down to LA?
I did.
But this must be kind of fun too.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Twit's really been trying to reach out into some of the connected fields of technology, and the automotive industry has gone tech in a big way.
Oh, more tech than ever before. Is the Detroit Auto Show still the big auto show?
Oh, by far. The LA Auto Show is really an appetizer. It's not even an eighth the size of Detroit. All of the big players come to Detroit.
Detroit's next is in December.
It's
January.
It's in January. It's right after CES.
Right.
But what the LA Auto Show does is it gives us a West Coast access to a lot of the trends that we're going to be seeing at the Detroit Auto Show. And yeah, we saw them. I mean, yes, there were the blingy cars, there were the interesting concepts, there were the new models of vehicles, but you also got to see things like where autonomous vehicles are heading and where the new business models can be found.
You said that a lot of venture capitalists are down there looking at places to put money.
Yeah, Tim Stevens did an interview with us, and he was talking about this, that VCs have figured out that the Silicon Valley is a nice place to make money, but there's huge amounts of money to be made in automotive.
Right.
But, and this was an interesting point, investing money in a tech startup is not like investing money in an automotive startup. In a tech startup, you expect them to make mistakes. You expect them to release beta product. You
can't do that with a car.
You can't do that with a car. You can't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you all died. It'll be better in the next version."
Next time, we're going to get that right.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is a learning curve that that the VC from Silicon Valley need to figure out. It's not an immediate return. In fact, the CEO of Ford, he basically said the same thing. He said, look, we've been in this game a long, long time. We know that there's a lot of money rushing into autonomous vehicles. That's not how you do it. Right. You can't just pour money into something. Ford, he said, look, we have seen in our past dumping money into something, thinking that we've missed the boat, and then that money gets wasted.
Yeah.
They're taking a much more measured approach to where do they want to invest. In fact, they're looking at investing money into like the sensor companies, because they realize every autonomous vehicle is going to need good sensors. So if they can corner the market on LiDAR and on sonar, on radar, they can make way more money than trying to rush into the entire, say, connected control unit field. Very smart.
Here's the Chevy Volt, the electric vehicles. Oh, and the Bolt, I'm very interested. The Bolt's coming out soon, right?
Yes, yes, and it does have the range. People were wondering whether or not they'd be able to get the range they claimed. Absolutely, it's a nice vehicle. The Bolt and the Volt both look like Chevy they've got some of their mojo back. In fact, they are the #1 manufacturer of EVs. This one, I think you're gonna like. This is a Tesla Model X towing an Airstream trailer.
Yeah.
And that Airstream trailer isn't just an Airstream trailer. The floor is actually a battery pack for the Tesla. So in plugging it in, you get extended range.
They've been driving that all over the country. I remember seeing that in Manhattan as well. Yeah, I don't know why. Is that a pink car?
That is the Pink Panther. That is Kara's favorite car. That's a car made for the 60s, a different time with a lot of shagging. That's the driver's seat, and then that back is just a cabin for entertaining.
With a big shag rug.
Yes, it is.
Was that ever driven, or is that just
They made 2 of them. They brought them to Europe. One got crashed. That was actually brought back by Mad Mike from Pimp My Ride. This is a BMW carbon fiber Paralympian vehicle.
Oh, that's neat.
They made this for the U.S. Paralympian team.
It's a racing wheelchair.
It's a racing wheelchair. And I mean, the technology that goes into this, it's actually amazing. They use computational fluid dynamics to figure out where they should put the different curves. And they had to create a design that would work for all the Paralympians and yet could be configurable for every Paralympian's particular disability. And it's an amazing piece of technology.
That is pretty
yeah,
cool.
I got to tell you, it was a very interesting chance for us to see some of these technologies that you don't normally associate with the automotive industry.
How about the Ollie? Did you see the Ollie?
We did. It's a big bus-looking device. It's an autonomous bus. It can fit 12 passengers. The whole idea is there are no controls. You type in your destination, it comes, you push the button, you get in, and it takes you there.
Well, we've done that. We've rented big, limo buses for holiday parties and things like that. Remember, we all went down to see The Wall, I think, in one of those. That'd be kind of cool. We could all get in the Ollie, and we wouldn't have a driver. That seems a little scary to me. I don't know if I'm ready to get in a car without a driver.
It will take time, but like right now in the Bay Area at Santa Clara University, there's a company called R Robotics that has developed something like the Ollie, completely autonomous. They have someone sitting behind the wheel, but he doesn't do anything.
That's a good idea. Have somebody sitting behind the wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
Although, if you've been to Vegas, right, the monorail in Vegas has no driver. Mm-hmm. We just get in it, it just goes. Of course, it's on a rail, and there's no traffic. Mm-hmm.
And Tim Stevens did a fantastic job
from
emceeing,
CNET.
from the Roadshow. He's got a wonderful show, the Roadshow, and he had a nice talk where he brought up some industry icons talking about autonomous vehicles.
Neat.
And they were all saying, look, this is a perception problem. People are freaking out because you're taking away the decision from the driver. But he said, look, if you've got a vehicle that was made after 1980, you have artificial intelligence already. It's called anti-lock braking.
Right.
When you hit that pedal, you're actually telling the computer you want to stop. The computer decides where to put the pressure, when to release the brakes, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And it's a much better system than a human.
It's a much better system. So eventually we're going to get to this point where we're going to realize that if you're driving something like a Tesla, it's essentially autonomous as is.
Yeah. Well, I actually, now having had that Tesla for a few months, and I have the autopilot, which is badly named. It's really a good driver assist. But I use it all the time. We drove to San Francisco to see The Lion King on Thursday night. That was a lot of fun. And I let the Tesla drive us down, only on the freeway. I let it change lanes. You can change lanes if you signal. When we get to an on-ramp or a tricky place, I would usually take over. And that's the thing, you really have to stay alert, and you're still driving the vehicle because there are times when the road curves and the Tesla doesn't and things like that. Not very often, but I think it's really important that you not just kind of go to sleep or read a book. You're paying attention. Nevertheless, it does take some of the stress out of it. And I wish I'd had it during my commute years, 11 years going back and forth to San Francisco, and it would have really been a lifesaver, especially just the adaptive cruise control, the stopping and the starting would have been so much easier. So I've come to appreciate it, both its good parts, but also its perils, and to know how to use it. And I think if you use it wisely, not as a self-driving vehicle, but as an assist, it's a very good tool.
Precisely. It's not an autonomous system per se. It's a system that keeps you from doing something really bad.
Yeah.
That's how it's to be.
Well, and if a car ahead of me, even if it's 100 feet down the road, stops suddenly and I haven't slowed down, it will let me know.
Precisely.
And that is fabulous. I really appreciate that. Well, I'm glad you got to go to the LA Auto Show, and we're going to have a special based on this.
We do. Just go to twit.tv/specials. We're also going to do a segment of it on know-how. I actually got a chance to sit in Toyota's brand new, currently available. You can actually go out and buy one of these. It's a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle.
Wow.
And,
where do you get the hydrogen fuel cells?
Well, there are fill-up stations here and there. Essentially, think of it as an upgraded Prius, but instead of an internal combustion engine providing the power, it's a fuel cell. So there's still a battery bank of lithium-ion cells.
How long is the fuel cell good for?
You can go, 300 miles.
So you charge it at home and drive around. See, I would never use gas because I always charge it. I don't have a gas assist in my Tesla. So you just learn how far you can go, and you make sure you charge it. This would be kind of like just in case.
Precisely. It's one of those anxiety stoppers. So if you charge this every night and you use it as your commuting vehicle, you'd never need the hydrogen. But it's there if you need it.
Call for help coming up next. We're going to talk about a career in IT. Is it still a good idea? But first...
Don't do it. It's too crowded.
He's shaking his head. First, a word from our sponsor, Audible.com. You know we're Audible fans. That's actually when I became an Audible customer in the year 2000 was when I was doing that commute back and forth an hour or two each way every single day. I would have killed somebody, probably myself, by driving off the road if I hadn't discovered audiobooks. First, it was boxes of cassettes. That was okay, but when Audible came along in the year 2000 and I could download the books and I could listen to them, and best of all, I could keep them, my life changed forever. Now, 16 years later, I have hundreds of audiobooks in my library. I go back and listen to old books all the time, and I get new books all the time because I have an Audible subscription. I want to set you up with an Audible subscription. The book a month plan, that's the Audible Gold subscription. That means you're going to get a new book every month, plus the daily digest of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. You have 30 days to try this for free. So if at any time in that first month you don't care, by the way, that's a great book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fig. Lisa's listening to that and loves it. Loves it. By Mark Manson. It's about just chilling, man. Just chill a little bit.
Chill.
Relax.
Just sit back.
Chill. Trevor Noah's got a new one. Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. Of course, he's the host of The Daily Show. If you loved the movie Black Hawk Down, you might want to read the book that inspired it by Mark Bowden. Actually, one of the things I like to do is see The Girl on the Train, is read the book before I see the movie. Often the book is a better movie. It's a movie you draw in your own mind with your imagination. Hollywood can't compete with the sets that you create in your mind, the environments, and that's what I love about an audiobook. It comes to life. Give it a try right now. Your first book awaits. Audible.com/NSS. Cancel anytime in the first 30 days. You'll pay nothing, but that book is yours to keep forever. There are so many great books at Audible.com/NSS. You ready for a call for help?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. On the line with us right now from Grayson, Kentucky, it's Timothy. Hi, Timothy.
Howdy.
How are you?
Pretty good.
What you up to? Hanging, chilling, watching the show?
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got the subtle art of not giving a fig.
So I take it you just started college.
Yeah.
Congratulations. What's your interest?
Mm-hmm. Well, thinking about IT, but I don't know.
Are you worried that IT doesn't have a future?
That's what I've been hearing.
What? Who's saying that?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Who's telling you that no one's ever going to hire IT people?
In the future, Timothy, there won't be any computers. There won't be any self-driving cars. Cash registers will have a big crank on the side. We won't have a phone system. You'll just have tin cans with strings. Of course there's no future in IT. That's obvious.
Okay.
By the way, if there's no IT, I don't know what Robert and I are going to do.
I'm out of a job.
Because we've kind of built careers on IT. I mean, you can still go back to the church. Me, I'll be on the street. No, I do think there is a very much a future in IT. I guess the question is, what kind of IT, right?
Right, exactly. And I think maybe this is what the people who have been telling you that there's no future in IT might be talking about, because they might be thinking of IT as sort of help desk. You know, the person who comes over and...
Yeah, that's all going to India.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff, there is a very minimal future in
and
that.
It's a terrible job.
Yes. But what we are seeing, however, is actually an increase in a great increase in the demand and the salaries of people who can do specific IT tasks. Like, for example, if you know how to build out a cloud deployment, if you're really good at software-defined networking, if you can actually create a strategy for hybrid deployment of premise and off-premise campus networks, then, I mean, not only is there going to be a demand for your skills, but it's going to be one of the highest paying jobs that you can get straight out of college.
Yeah, think about it, like forensics.
Oh, yes.
Pen testing, security, configuring sophisticated networks. I think the truth is that the low-level jobs will probably go offshore. And they never were great jobs anyway. How much do you have to pay somebody to crawl around and plug in wires?
Right.
That's not a job with a future. It might be your first job, and certainly don't turn up your nose at it, because getting that hands-on experience is valuable. But in your educational process today, you should be really looking at what's going to be the technology of the future, and choose the hard stuff, right?
Precisely. Yeah. Look, I mean, if you look right now, if you just open up Yahoo News, if you go to Bing, if you go to Google, you're going to see the top 10 news stories under IT that will pretty much show you where the interest is in information technology. So let me ask you a question. When you talk about being concerned that there won't be a job waiting for you when you get out of college, what is the specific concern? What are you interested in? And you're thinking won't be there when you get out.
I mean, they may be saying that in your Fortran class. I can understand that.
There's not much need for basic programmers, but
no,
yeah.
COBOL, no.
Yeah.
What are you studying right now?
While I'm starting, I'm just doing basic stuff right now.
Yeah,
like
you have to start at
Office.
the beginning. Yeah, you have to learn.
Yeah.
In fact, you're probably going to learn those tech support skills that aren't going to be really great jobs going forward. If you're a guy who knows how to use Microsoft Word, oh, bully for you. Wow. But, programmers, people who set up now, there's so many places where you can't offshore. In fact, in general, I would say to anybody, everybody in your class, whether it's IT or not, should be looking at jobs that can't be sent overseas, right? That can't be done cheaper by somebody over the internet. Right. The other thing you should look at, and I've just kind of opened my eyes to this recently, is you want to look at a job ultimately that the internet will help you leverage. So there are some jobs that there's a limit to how much you're going to be able to make, because it's a onesie twosie. If I'm tying people's shoes, there's only a certain number of shoes I can tie a minute to make a living doing that. On the other hand, if that job you're choosing can be amplified by modern technology and the internet, the sky's the limit. It's a chance to actually have a growth path that, promises a great paying job in the future. I think of myself in my broadcast career. If I had stayed a DJ, there would be very much a limit on how well I could do, on what opportunities I would have. But as soon as we realized we could do what we do on the internet and have a global audience, things exploded. That's when TWiT really took off. That it was when it went from being a talk show host on one radio station to many radio stations to many users all over the world, many listeners and viewers all over the world. That was a huge revelation. I was very lucky because I don't think I had any insight. I think I just kind of did it. But it's a good thing for you to keep in mind. Look for a job that has growth potential that will take advantage of what is happening today in technology.
Precisely.
I can't think of any area that's going to be a better growth potential than IT, frankly, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where no matter what industry you're in, every industry is leading into technology. They're incorporating some sort of information technology.
Yeah.
If you can be that person who is a specialist in how that works, then your career is absolutely assured. Now, don't think that, oh, if I get IT, I got a job down.
No,
Again,
because there's a lot of other people competing for that job.
Precisely. So make sure that you are choosing a specialty that is in demand. But it's not going to change in 4 years.
What are you good at, Timothy? Even more important, what do you really like to do? What are you passionate about?
Well, ever since I was 5, I learned how to take apart computers and learn how they worked, and eventually learn how to fix them.
So that's a good
I like to do
example.
stuff like that.
So let's say you say, I'm the computer fix-it guy, and I'm going to put together computers. That is a onesie, twosie business. That's like tying shoes. You can only do so much, and you're going to get to the point where there's no growth there, right? If you're lucky, you have a good business, people come in the door every day, you're fixing computers every day. But I think it's really important to think of, oh, this is what I like to do. That involves understanding how they work. Maybe designing computers might be something of value. Take it to the next level. Think what would be a job that would have the best growth potential. Right. Simply fixing a computer, if your friends are telling you that's a dead end, they might be right on that, right? Look at this computer. There's nothing you can fix in this computer.
Fixing a computer won't get you a career. However, if you can be the guy who can go into a corporation and say, I'm going to replace 10,000 of your workstations with cloud-based management so that you have a single point of control, then yes, that's a future. So it's the same idea. You're dealing with desktops, but think much bigger than I'm going to fix the hardware.
Take what your passion is and think about what is the best growth path and go that way. So I love it that you love to fix computers because that means you understand them, right? You have an empathy for, I'm the same way, and I'm sure you are too. We love doing that. But did we stop at that? No, because that doesn't have a big growth path. So you want to look at something that will take your passion, the thing you're good at, the thing you love, and think of how you can use that to go to the next level. Both Robert and I ended up fixing computers for a lot of people wholesale, right, on TV.
That's for giggles.
That's one way to use that skill, okay? So have we given you a pep talk, Timothy?
Yeah.
It's not over.
It's good to know.
You just got to find your passion, the thing you love. And you know what? If you're the best guy in Kentucky to fix computers, that may not be a bad thing. No. You have to think about also what lifestyle you want. Maybe you'd be very happy being a shade tree mechanic. If you're an auto mechanic, right? It's probably the case that most automobiles are no longer fixed by an independent mechanic.
I mean, most automobiles are now going to need an IT person.
Yeah. But so maybe that's what you should do. Or maybe you're just going to be the one guy in town that knows how to fix a 2002 Beamer. And that's what you do. And you'll be happy and content with a simple lifestyle. You got to also understand what it is you're looking for in life, right?
Yep.
Take it from an old man. I was very lucky. I found them. Obviously, Robert found his calling too, and it doesn't have too much to do with computers, to be honest with you. But if you could find your calling, then you have a path to a truly joyous life. Good luck, Timothy.
All right,
Hang
thanks.
in there, okay? Don't listen to those negative naysayers, those negative Nellies. Hey, if you want to be on the show, Jason Howell's going to be our host next week. He's a king of Android, right? So here's how you get your question on the air.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Yeah, finding, somebody's saying in the chat room, Osned, thank you, Osned, if you're good at solving problems and fixing things, there are a lot of places you can go with that.
Precisely.
And you know what? I got to say, when you find a great plumber or a great handyman, that person's gold. We have a handyman charges a lot of money. We can't book him. He's so popular because he's good at what he does. So, and he's happy. He's got the lifestyle he wants. It doesn't always have to be the way it looks in the magazines or on TV. Hey, we talked a couple of weeks ago with Mike Elgin's son, Kevin Elgin. Now, there's an example of somebody who really loves to use technology to teach people skills, particularly kids. He's gone to work for a company called Piper, and I've seen this online. They make a computer kit, a DIY Minecraft computer project for kids. Now, we don't have any kids on the staff, but we got in our DeLorean and we went back in time, and we took Karsten Bondy back to the age of 12 and it's his son Zak, and gave him a Piper, and here's what it looked like.
I'm Zak Bondy from the New Screensavers, and this is the Piper Computer Kit. Piper teaches kids how to build their own computers and how to put together electronics. Piper started as a Kickstarter back in March of 2015. They were funded in less than a day and ended up making over $280,000. The first kits were shipped last December, and now anyone can buy a Piper. The Piper Kit includes the following: a Raspberry Pi computer, a laser-cut wooden case, a screen, a mouse, a battery, and a bunch of electronic parts. The first thing you have to do with the Piper is put the computer together. You have to build the case out of wooden pieces and assemble the computer. It took my brother and me about an hour to put together the computer and the case. Once you get the computer running, you can play a series of games that teach you things about electronics and coding. The games are in a special Minecraft mod called Piper Universe, so they are really easy for kids to understand. The games tell you how to put together real-life electronic equipment, which you can then use to affect things in the game. For example, one of the games teaches you how to build a treasure detector. It shows you how to connect an LED to the computer, and then the LED lights up when you get near the treasure in the game. One of my favorite things about Piper is that once you put it together, there's more than just a Minecraft mod that teaches you stuff. It's also a fully functioning computer. It comes with a web browser, word processor, Python, and more. So it's more than just a game. The one thing I thought was not so great was the price. $300 for a Raspberry Pi is a lot of money. You could get the parts to build a similar Raspberry Pi computer for about half that. But then you wouldn't get the games that teach you about electronics, which is really the whole point of Piper. Maybe it would be a good idea if Piper offered their Piper Universe Minecraft mod as a separate download. If you know a kid that wants to learn about computers and electronics, then the Piper Computer Kit would make a cool gift. Back to you, Leo.
Wow! Wow, I think we have a new star in our midst. Good job, Zak.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Zak Bondy is Karsten's son, and I saw you're a fan of Undertale.
Yes.
Yeah, that's your favorite game?
Yes.
Yeah, same with Michael, our son. He was Sans for Halloween. He got the mask and everything. That's Undertale, right? Sans? Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what's funny about Undertale is it's like an 8-bit old-fashioned game. It doesn't look any better than, Pitfall did on the Atari 2600. But you like that, huh? Mm-hmm. I think the kids are weird today. So here it is. It's a little smaller than I might have thought if I watched it on the website, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what else you can do with this thing. So well, you saw it has electronics projects. I see a little diode on here and stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm. There's little buttons that once you build, they will help you in the adventure.
Oh, I see. So in order to do this software better, you have to actually build something physical.
Yeah, you have to like it teaches you how to build this along with the game. So
now you're not new to computers. I mean, you've used computers for your whole life. But had you ever kind of looked inside a computer like this? Did this give you some better insight to how computers work?
Yeah, a little. And yeah, I think if for a kid who's never seen a computer, this is a really good opportunity.
Right.
Because then they can see from the very beginning and not if you've got a laptop, you don't see anything from the inside.
Right.
But if you have this, you can see it up close, it's right there.
Were there any points in putting it together you kind of got stuck and you had to ask Dad for help, or?
No, not really.
Dad wouldn't have helped anyway, right? And you said your brother helped a little bit.
Yeah, he helped building the case, which.
How old's your brother?
9.
9. So you're 12. He's 9. Mm-hmm. But he's like the builder in the bunch.
Yeah, he's the builder.
Isn't that interesting? Why is he not here?
He doesn't really like to be on TV. He's a little shy. Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely the carpenter of the family.
So, but that's good because you were able to do this together. Yeah. I think that's kind of neat. And he did part of it, and you did part of it. Yeah.
He also invited my neighbors over to come help.
How did
with
that
this,
work
too.
out?
They just really came in and like built a step, then he built a step, and they built a step. And then...
Wow, so this really became a community project. It looks good. Would you like to keep it?
Well, if you guys want it back, that's perfectly fine with me.
I don't know what I would do with it. So it closes up.
Yeah.
Is it okay to do this?
Yeah, let me just put the mouse
But it's got a little tiny mouse that comes with it. And it closes up. So you could carry this around, bring it places, bring it to school maybe, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think this would be good in a school?
A teacher actually bought this, one of these for each of her students, $300 each for 30 students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know, a lot of schools have the funding to do that, to like buy an iPad or a Chromebook. That's about the same price, right?
But she was one of the only people who rated it 4 stars on Amazon. And most other people rated it 5, so there's something saying
Well,
that.
she learned a little bit of about the pitfalls involved. What are some resources that you could use if you didn't want to spend $300? I mean, you can get a Raspberry Pi for $35, right?
Well, if you didn't want this entire thing,
I think that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, the case is really awesome in the screen, but if you didn't have that much money, because I know some people who don't have like $300 just lying around.
Right.
But you could buy these books. And
That's Make Magazine's Getting Started with Raspberry Pi. That's a really good
Pi
book. Matt Richardson, who wrote that, did the Python programming book. And here from IDG, it's Raspberry Pi for Kids. So there's a lot of materials out there. Actually, in a way, that's nice, because if you wanted some more help with the Piper, you could also get it. It's not like they're doing something completely proprietary. It's kind of a standard. It's the Raspberry Pi. Do you think that was a good choice for this computer?
Yeah, I think that the Raspberry Pi is good, because if it was any other processing unit, it would probably cost a lot more.
Right. And the screen is okay. It's not a touch screen.
It's not a touch
Here,
screen.
let me turn this a little bit so folks at home can see it. It's a good looking screen, but it's like a tablet size screen, and the mouse works with that pretty well. So what is this Piper? Is this an educational game, or is it Minecraft?
It's a Minecraft mod, basically. And
oh, I see. So it says story mode. That's Minecraft story mode. Creative mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically there are like some stories. I haven't beaten them all because I got bored after a while.
Ah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Are you a Minecraft fan?
I
kind of grew out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. Now these kits, the whole idea is to give you something that you have to build to get you involved in it so that you'll want to continue. So after having built this and grown a little bored with the Minecraft angle, is this something that you would feel comfortable now with, say, repurposing? Would you reprogram it and start to use the buttons and the breadboard to make something else?
Oh yeah. It also, even if you can you just exit out of this.
Now you're at Linux. It's a Linux desktop.
It's just the normal
Raspbian. Yeah.
I can't say it. Desktop.
Desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got the normal search.
So there's, just as any Raspberry Pi, or even nowadays Linux computer system, this has kind of the sky's the limit as far as where you can go afterwards. The kit includes a battery. Is that what that is?
Yep.
The Raspberry Pi, is it a Raspberry Pi 3? Is it?
No, it's a 2.
It's the 2.
Oh wait, no, it is a 3.
It's the latest Raspberry Pi. It has a mouse. It looks like a little breadboard. In fact, you can do a joystick buttons, controller buttons on here. Are there other things you can do with this?
Yeah, eventually if I continued the story mode, there would be like, there's one other button slot, so that might be something.
So to continue the story mode, you have to actually build some physical things with the parts that come with the kit. Oh, that's kind of neat. Do you feel like the story mode taught you anything about electronics?
Yeah, a little.
A little.
All right. All right, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best, 1 being don't ever go near this, what do you think?
I would think about a 4.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
4 stars out of 5. Zak Bondy is a future genius, Undertale aficionado, and our reviewer of the Piper computer, Raspberry Pi Edition microcomputer kit. Is it Piper? It's
Playpiper.com.
Playpiper.com. I thought it wasn't just Piper. Playpiper.com on the web, $299. There it is. Build your first real computer. I think for the right kid, this could change your life. It could get you really excited. Zach already knew a lot about computers, and so it was a little bit less interesting for you. Yeah. Do you think your brother might want it?
Yeah, any age from like 7 to 10, this would probably be like really great for them.
Okay, so you're a little too old for it, maybe.
Yeah. A little.
I kind of like how it looks, though.
I've actually done some like actual coding before, and like on Python and stuff, and this is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Good way to get started for somebody younger.
It's like, this is like the best way to get started.
Nice.
Like,
what's your brother's name?
Alex.
Maybe Alex would like to play with this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys keep it. I think you should keep it. Thank you so much, Zach and Karsten Bondy. Of course, Karsten's one of our producers, produces all of my shows, and is an old friend from the days of Dev Null and the Screensavers. You ever heard of Dev Null?
No.
No. Yeah.
We try to keep that hidden.
We're going to talk a little bit with Jason about the newest app from Google. It's actually pretty cool. But first, I want to remind you about Atlassian and a brand new product from Atlassian. We're an Atlassian house here. We use Jira for our agile development, both the website and our apps. We've used Confluence. The engineering team uses that as a knowledge base to keep track of our workflow and processes. And HipChat, which is the amazing chat client from Atlassian, allows us to stay in touch. Every single department has at least one, often many HipChat rooms. We have a Screensavers HipChat room. We have engineering HipChat room. We have sales HipChat rooms. And it's a great set of products for any team that works together. And now the Jira Service Desk. If you're tired, if you're in support and you are tired of the current set of IT tools, and there are some really awful IT tools out there. In fact, many of you are in IT support, and I hear from you all the time. The chat room talks about the tools that they have to use, and they're always moaning and groaning. This is the future. Jira Service Desk starts at $10 a month. It's built on the Jira platform. So if you've used Jira, you'll love it. I mean, we use it to do Kanban tools, swim lanes to keep track of where a project is. If you have customers, it makes it easy for them to ask for help and for your teams to stay on top of that, especially if you've got service level agreements, you've got dynamic queues, mobile alerts. You can help your team stay productive, from putting out fires to helping employees get stuff done. Automate repetitive tasks. Your agents and your engineers will be very happy to not have to do the same thing over and over again, so they can focus on the important stuff. You can also use it for external support teams. So you get if you for instance, want to use customer feedback to help product development, you can use Jira Service Desk for that as well. It's very flexible, very powerful. We're using it now with our IT team to track projects and tasks. We also are using it to provide real-time visualizations. So once a task is completed, I always love this about Jira. You could move the ticket through the columns, which is really a very visual, visceral way of understanding where a project is and how it's getting completed. And we also are using it with Confluence as a way to document our workflows. We've got a Confluence knowledge base, makes it very easy to help with support requests. It integrates with HipChat. We can get notifications from Jira Service Desk into HipChat and vice versa. Very easy to use, very affordable, and you could try it free. So affordable, you aren't even going to need your boss's approval for this. Try it right now. Go to Atlassian, Atlassian, Atlassian.com/twit. First 100 people to sign up will get the free t-shirt that says it's like the Konami code for IT support. I love it. See why over 20,000 IT teams are now using Jira Service Desk. That's old. It's now 20,000. A 7-day trial awaits you at Atlassian, Atlassian.com/twit. We thank you. There's the t-shirt. Did you see that? Welcome, podcast listeners. Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start. What does that do, Zach? Anything?
Well, in Konami games, it gives you a plus.
Oh, shut up.
Hell no.
You're absolutely right.
Hell no.
Just kidding you. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. Jason Howell is the host not only of Tech News Today and All About Android, also does a great show. You may not even know about it. I think a lot of our fans don't. Called Android App Arena. He picks the best Android apps each week. This week, he couldn't avoid the brand new apps, not just for Android, iOS too, Google's new photo scan. He gives us a look right now.
So back on episode 100, I reviewed an app called Heirloom that was aimed at helping users restore old photographs, as in the ones on photo paper. You remember those, right? Well, now Google is getting into that game because, you know, the more photos you scan, the more stuff you're likely to keep on their servers. The new app is called PhotoScan, and it solves some pretty consistent problems with snapping digital pictures of your printed pictures with the camera on your phone. If you've done it before, you know that glossy prints reflect light, and that can obstruct the view of those old prints. You want the light above the image to get the best illumination, but that results in a hotspot or a reflection of you within that image when you take a picture of it. Well, PhotoScan implements computational photography to fix this problem. So, for example, we have our print on the table. We take the initial snapshot of that image with our phone's camera. And now we're presented with 4 different points within the image that we must align our camera with to capture the photo at different angles. Doing so shifts those aberrations like light and reflection around the main image that you took that we're trying to capture, essentially. Once we do that, some processing takes place, and what we end up with is an image of that print with no reflections, no light, hot spots, none of those at all. PhotoScan analyzes the image underneath and then the various differences to that image from each angle, and then smashes it all together to come up with a primo print, complete with automatic cropping around the edges of the print. Very cool stuff. Find PhotoScan in the Play Store right now for free.
Jason Howell, you can catch him on, as I mentioned, TNT. That's Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC. That's your daily dose of tech news. And you can also listen, by the way, to that on your Amazon Echo as part of your flash briefing. Make sure you search for TWiT and add that to your flash briefing. You can also see Jason on All About Android every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2300 UTC. How do you like that? I'm good at the math. And I don't think anybody knows this, but he does a great show called Android App Arena, where he picks 5 great Android apps, and that's every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So that's a little clip from that show. We're going to start doing more app reviews, I think, because we have so many good app reviews. Meanwhile, Father Robert and I are going to wrap up the show with the mailbag.
I love this part.
It's poorly named because, in fact, it's not a mailbag.
It's a mailbox.
It's a mailbox. And it rolls by itself. You may wonder why I'm wearing this hat. There was a tragic fire earlier today, and all my hair was burned off. Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, maybe it was just a dream.
It happens.
It was a bad dream. Let's get to the mailbag.
Oh, look, it's a giant butt.
Oh, look, it's a bottle of Snapple. Best stuff on earth. Oh! Wow, it's made from peach butts. All right.
You could fly this thing over San Francisco.
Is that really on the Snapple?
It really... Someone is...
Oh, you could peel that one off.
It's production.
That was a problem.
It's
you
production
couldn't peel
value.
it off the mural. That's a story you weren't here for. I don't know why we're repeating that. All right, you start.
All right, I've got one from Jason, who says, I live in a semi-rural part of Tennessee, and I have wonderful Frontier internet. It clocks in at a speedy 4 megabits per second down and 512K up.
Yikes.
When it's not raining. A mile up the road, there is Charter with 65 plus megabits per second. Goodness. How do I get Charter to run their line down here so I can get on their internet? There are plenty of houses here on this road that I'm sure would gladly switch to Charter. Another obstacle is there is a local cable company on our road, but their service is just as bad. Do I need to petition the whole street to get Charter out here, or what do you suggest?
All right, I'm going to tell you a little story.
Story time?
Once again, story time.
All right.
So I earlier in my life lived in the country on a rural road. The road, everybody on the road had Comcast, but my house was 100 feet down a driveway. And we didn't have Comcast, and I really wanted Comcast, not just for cable TV, but mostly for the internet. Same situation, right? So I called them. I said, what would it take to get your wire 100 feet down the driveway to my house? And they said $5,000. And that was probably conservative. Right. So you're thinking $50 a foot. Is that right?
It's
50
more,
times
way
100?
more than that, yeah.
Probably more than that, right? Because they got a trench. You said you're a mile? That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It costs Verizon, for instance, $5,000 per customer to get fiber to them. And most of that cost is digging a hole for the fiber to lie in, trenching. So this is the real problem, is that in a rural area, it's very costly to bring the internet out there. And there has to be enough population density to justify it. You said you have a lot of neighbors. What is a lot? 5, 10, 100, 1,000? In a urban population, you might get 1,000 people, in one apartment building. A square mile might have 100,000 or 10,000 people. So that's the difference. It's a real problem in this country, is that we just don't have good internet service in rural areas. You're lucky because you're obviously getting DSL from fiber, and that's pretty typical speeds for DSL, so especially as you get farther from the office. Is there something he can do?
Unfortunately, no, because if you're talking about a mile and you're talking about a rural area,
long way.
Even if you got all your neighbors, and remember, neighbors in a rural area is very different than a neighbor in an urban area. It's going to cost Charter what? $1 million to get to you, because it's not just the line, it's not just the trenching, it's the equipment. And then what they're going to be looking at is not only are they never going to recover that money, but they now have to service those customers.
Right.
And it's an ever deepening hole for them. So unfortunately, there is no petition. I mean, unless you could get 1,000 customers who say they're going to be adopting this service from this one long line that they're going to make, I don't see them ever
but
coming
even
out.
then, all it would take is a little math. So let's say you guarantee 1,000 customers are going to subscribe.
Right.
$100 a month, that's $100,000 a year. That's a 10-year amortization for that $1 million trenching. And I think even then that's going to be a stretch. Certainly worth a try. Get everybody in the neighborhood, write to them. Maybe for goodwill reasons they'd be willing to do it, but it just seems less likely. Most of the time people who live in rural areas like this rely on wireless internet service if they can't get DSL or cable internet service. Wireless internet service can really vary in quality. There are WISPs, or wireless internet service providers, who use microwave, high-speed transmission over microwave frequencies.
Fixed wireless is probably the way to go.
It's kind of like Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
But it can go over a greater distance, and it can be as fast as Wi-Fi. It can be 10, 20 megabits.
Now, one thing they can look into, and Tennessee is one of these states that's a bit progressive as far as municipal networking is concerned. They've actually got a big trial running right now.
Famous.
Chattanooga's fantastic.
Yeah.
You could petition and say, look, if I can get enough of my neighbors together, we want to create a small network.
Right.
And then you can get a WISP to do fixed wireless to one spot, which then
that might be affordable.
That's probably the way to go.
Yeah.
That's much more likely than Charter ever coming out your way.
In your neck of the woods, there's actually a precedent for government intervention in something like this. You remember in the Depression, the Tennessee Valley Authority was created. That brought hydroelectric power to rural areas in Tennessee that otherwise wouldn't have been electrified. And that took an act of Congress. And I think that's kind of the situation we're in right now. And even the FCC with their broadband plan has said, one of the missions we have at the FCC is we think internet access is going to be a vital part of every citizen's future. So, and we understand that you can't expect private business to do this because there's no money in it. It's going to have to be a governmental initiative. It might be worth lobbying your member of Congress as well for something like this.
And sadly, the FCC on their agenda for this last Thursday was the use of the Universal Service Fund to create broadband internet deployment, just like this, for this exact situation. But as is often the case at the end of an administration, there were members of the Senate who petitioned the FCC to clear the agenda until the new president is sworn in.
Everybody at this point is a lame duck.
Precisely. So they got rid of it.
Nothing's going to happen, unfortunately. Yeah. And I just don't know what's going to happen after January 20th. It might well be. I mean, this is the kind of thing, if you want to bring jobs to rural areas, if you want to improve the economy in rural areas, this is exactly the kind of thing that wouldn't cost a lot of money and could really bring huge benefit. So it may be that the climate is better next year. We'll have to see.
We'll see.
Hey, new Screensavers crew, writes Tom, my wife does a lot of Photoshop work on Etsy, making invitations for people. Little plug, cyan and sepia is her storefront. She does this on a PC that's falling apart. I want to get her a new PC for Christmas. Oh, isn't that nice? And the new Microsoft Studio is perfect, but $3,000. Yeah. I was wondering, can I do something like that for under $2,000? What she really wants is a large screen that she can draw directly on. So I have purchased the studio just because I wanted to review it. It's supposed to come December 15th, so watch because we will have a review. But yeah, the cheapest one, and that's what I got, the base model. And it's not, by the way, great specs.
No,
it's an
not.
older processor, an i5 processor from last year. It's not a lot of RAM. It's not a lot of hard drive. What you're paying for is this pixel perfect screen. It's 28 inches. That's huge. It's fully touch. That's fantastic. And it lies down at a 20-degree angle, kind of like a drafting board. So it's perfect for your wife, for this kind of artist, but it is very pricey.
I mean, you're paying for cutting-edge design. It is beautiful. It's a sexy piece of equipment. It's not super spec, but yeah, you know, if you're a creative professional, it is a nice piece of kit. But yeah, three grand is 3 grand.
Does Acer, Asus, anybody, I've seen a lot of all-in-ones. Is there anybody out there who's making a touchscreen all-in-one that would be comparable?
Thankfully, yes. In fact, there are 3 companies that are really leading the way in this. Dell, Acer, and HP. They all have models. In fact, let's go ahead and start with the Acer. I think there's a link there in the doc for this one. They've got the Acer Aspire, the 1 series, and I think it's the Z23 version that is, it's quite nice. You can actually start them at about $800. They'll go all the way up to about $1,100. You're talking about a 24-inch 1080p screen, all the way from an i3 to an i7 processor, depending on how you want. So you can actually get it faster than a Surface, and that is a 10-point multi-touch screen.
So you could draw, is it pressure sensitive?
Well, it is pressure sensitive if you use their stylus or if you use something like a Wacom pen, which will add pressure sensitivity.
Fantastic.
So that actually is quite nice, and that does recline. We reviewed one of those, I think, 3 years ago.
Isn't that funny? 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Wow.
And it will go down to 20 degrees. So it's got this nice stand that lets you recline it. So if you wanted to use that as sort of a drafting device, that's perfect.
That's a good price, too.
Yeah. Now, on the lower end, you've got Dell. Dell has a decent series. They've got their 2000, their 5000, and their 7000 series all in ones. This is their 7000. This will go all the way up to about $1,400, but they can start for the 2000 series. They'll go down to about $450. But that's with like an Intel Pentium all the way up to an i7. Again, a 24-inch screen, again, 10-point multi-touch. Again, it's going to be a hard drive instead of an SSD, which is the same thing on the Acer, and actually the same thing on the Compact. You can use this with a Wacom pen, which will add the pressure sensitivity. I would say that's Dell. They're kind of aiming at the lower end. So if you want the sub 1,000. Acer right now is kind of aiming for the midpoint. If you want higher end, you want something closer to the size of the screen on the Microsoft Surface, there is an HP. And the HP all-in-ones are nice. This is a 27-inch, so it's just an inch smaller. Yeah. And I mean, it's $1,100 all the way up to about $1,400. So it's less than half the price of the Surface.
It's even got the same hinge as the Surface.
It does, as exact same, and it does recline. You can use it with a Wacom pen to have pressure sensitivity. It's actually better spec'd, except for the fact that, again, it uses a hard drive. This one will go up to, I think, 16 gigabytes of memory if you need it.
I'm mad I bought the Surface Studio.
Well, I mean, the Surface Studio also has the nice little dial, which is that's kind of cool.
It's got a knob.
So there are options. They're not as sexy as the Surface. They're not as seamless as the Surface.
Okay.
But, I mean, for less than a third to about half the price, there definitely are other options.
And by the way, you'll be using exactly the same version of Windows, Windows 10.
Yes.
It'll do all the same things. That's pretty compelling. In fact, it makes me wonder if anybody should buy the Surface Studio. We're gonna, you know what you need to do is get one of those HPs, put it side by side.
We can do that.
And see how they compare.
All right.
Well, there's some good tips. You're a nice husband. I think that's a great gift.
I'm not married.
No, I'm talking.
Oh,
talking
okay,
about
yeah,
Tom.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I hope not. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Father Robert Balisari. He's the digital Jesuit. You'll see him on TWiT this week in Enterprise Tech. Now at a new studio.
Yes.
We moved you over to the other studio, the new studio, which is a nice set. Also the host of Know How with Brian Burnett. What are you working on Know How these days?
Well, we're getting into our Christmas phase, so there's a lot of holiday geek giving. So if you've got a maker in your life, we got to start looking at 3D printers. We got to start looking at things like laser etchers, so things that you might want to pick up for that geek maker in your life. And also, you can't do Christmas without computer-controlled Christmas lights, so we'll be doing a bunch of that.
I need to know more about this, because I bought something that's just a projector. It just projects lights in the house. It's
we can do better than that.
I need more. I need something like this fine fireplace.
Yes.
On the wall.
Chestnuts roasting on a
Lisa won't
fire.
let me get on a ladder to put lights up on the
I
house.
wouldn't let you get up on a ladder either.
What's wrong with that? What could possibly go wrong? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Robert for being here. I appreciate it. I knew you were a little under the weather after your travels to Italy and all that.
I brought something back from Rome.
Yeah,
A memento.
I hope you feel better. But I do appreciate your coming in and doing the show.
Always a pleasure.
And I thank you all for watching. We do this show every Saturday afternoon, right after the radio show. So that's about, I think, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We start setting up a little bit early, but if you're here by 3, you'll see the show. That would be, let's see, 2100 UTC. If you want to watch live and be in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. If you can't be here live, though, or in the studio, by the way, great studio audience, tickets at twit.tv if you'd like to watch the show. You can always get on-demand audio and video of this show and everything we do at our website, twit.tv/NSS for the new screensavers. On YouTube, youtube.com/new screensavers. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. Make sure you have a copy of the show, audio or video, on your hard drive for whenever you're in the mood. It's not too late. I almost wish it were too late to get our fine Merry Twitmas ugly Christmas sweatshirts. These have not been a bestseller.
They will be a collector's edition.
How many have we sold of those? 3? Oh, 74.
3.
Huh. 74. That's including the 50 we bought for staff, so I don't know. I thought this was a great idea. We decided that everybody needs an ugly Christmas sweater. We couldn't really get the sweater made, but we got a sweatshirt or a tank. This is nothing like a tank top.
There's nothing like a Christmas tank top. That just screams holiday, really.
It says Merry Twitmas on it. You can get it. Now, maybe part of the problem is it's at a different site. It's still at Teespring, but the URL is teespring.com/Twitmas. So I know you've been on the fence. You've been wondering, should I get one of these? Yes, you should. There's 3 days left. Join the 74 people who will be wearing these, or not. You might just wait till the thrift shops are loaded with them.
We'll be launching another campaign, Leo.
What?
In case people want more of the greatness.
We'll do it again?
Yes, I think so.
No.
Different design.
It's the design. That's the problem. Teespring.com/Twitmas. I think I'm going to get the tank top. Nothing more Christmassy than a tank top, don't you think?
I think, Saint Nick in a wife beater. That always looks good. Yeah,
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the new Screensavers. Bye-bye.